The shadows of Fairmont Crest are growing longer, and the secrets buried within this town are finally beginning to claw their way to the surface. I have been watching the tension build for weeks, and let me tell you, the impending explosion is going to leave casualties in every single family. We start our journey today in the darkest, most secluded corner of Joey Armstrong's casino, where a sinister alliance is rapidly deteriorating. Randy Parker and Haley Hamilton are locked in a heated, vicious argument, and the truth about their venomous plot is finally spilling out into the open. Randy, sweating bullets and looking more paranoid by the second, forces Haley to confront the reality of what they have done. He viciously reminds her that it was her brilliant, twisted idea to use a rare, untraceable serum to slowly and methodically weaken Bill Hamilton. This wasn't just a random act of malice. This was a calculated, cold-blooded strategy to seize his massive fortune and take absolute control of the powerful Hamilton family empire. But why go to such extreme, deadly lengths? Haley's response is enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. With eyes as cold as ice, she coldly snaps back that she is doing this because Bill has never, not even for a single second, valued her the way he valued his ex-wife, Danny Dupree. The sheer jealousy and deep-seated resentment dripping from Haley's voice prove that hell truly hath no fury, like a woman who feels second best. But the conflict between these two co-conspirators is reaching a dangerous boiling point. Randy is terrified. He demands more hush money, aggressively pointing out that Bill's physical deterioration, specifically his uncontrollable hand tremors, is becoming far too obvious. Randy knows that if people start asking questions, the entire house of cards will collapse, dragging him down right alongside her. As Randy pushes for more cash, a chilling realization washes over Haley. I could see the exact moment the gears shifted in her dark mind. She realizes that Randy is no longer an asset. He is rapidly becoming a weak link, a massive liability that could destroy everything she has worked for. In a terrifying moment of internal calculation, Haley actually begins to consider the unthinkable, eliminating her own cousin to protect her deadly secret. Would she really cross the line into outright murder to silence her own flesh and blood? Before we can even process that horrifying thought, Randy forces Haley to take a trip down a very dark memory lane. He aggressively pushes her to recall the very first night she sneaked the poisonous serum into Bill's glass of scotch. Randy is unraveling, his fears skyrocketing as he watches Bill's health plummet much faster than they ever anticipated. To make matters worse, the walls are closing in from the outside. Detective Marcel Malone is already starting to sniff around, asking uncomfortable questions that have Randy shaking in his boots. But does Haley show even an ounce of remorse or fear? Absolutely not. She simply lets out a dark, mocking laugh. She sharply reminds Randy that he eagerly took her money, his hands are just as dirty as hers, and there is absolutely no turning back now. And then the ultimate bombshell drops. We finally learn the shocking truth about Haley's recent mugging. It was all a meticulously staged theatrical performance. The entire mugging was a brilliant, twisted excuse to give her a reason to flinch when touched, allowing her to secretly hide the vials of poison directly on her body without arousing suspicion. But their brilliant plan is hitting a massive roadblock named Joey Armstrong. The casino boss is highly observant, and he has already started keeping a very close eye on Haley. Feeling the heat from Joey's intense scrutiny, Randy issues a desperate ultimatum. He threatens to expose all the damning evidence of the poisoning if Haley doesn't use her resources to help him escape the casino owner's dangerous orbit. It is a suffocating, high-stakes game of psychological chess between two ruthless con artists where trust is an absolute luxury that neither can afford. Who will betray who first? While his wife is plotting his demise in a smoky casino, Bill Hamilton is sitting completely alone at the upscale country club, staring down at his own hands in sheer terror. His fingers are trembling uncontrollably, a terrifying physical manifestation of the poison coursing through his veins. As he struggles to mask his failing health, Bill finds himself drowning in deep, emotional reflection about the two most important women in his life. He cannot help but compare the genuine warmth, deep history, and sincere love of Danny Dupree with the icy, mysterious, and distant nature of his current wife, Haley. The contrast is jarring, and it sparks a massive epiphany in Bill's brilliant legal mind. He suddenly thinks back to that incredibly awkward moment on the country club couch when he tried to be affectionate, wrapping his arm around Haley's waist near her chest, only for her to violently scream, "Don't!" At the time, she blamed the trauma of the mugging. But now, sitting alone with his shaking hands, Bill realizes that her rejection had absolutely nothing to do with trauma. She is hiding something terrible. She is physically concealing a dark secret from him. The pieces of the puzzle are finally starting to click together in Bill's mind. He vividly remembers the haunting warnings from the late Derek Baldwin. Derek, a true hero who lost his life saving Jacob, had explicitly warned Bill never to trust superficial appearances and to look deeper into the shadows surrounding his new wife. The internal conflict tearing Bill apart is palpable. He is a man who built his entire life on uncovering the truth in a courtroom, only to realize he is completely surrounded by a web of devastating lies in his own home. He knows he cannot confront Haley directly, not yet. Instead, fueled by a mix of fear and sheer determination, Bill makes a massive, game-changing decision. He resolves to secretly contact a high-level private investigator to dig into every dark corner of Haley's life. He is going to uncover the truth about her past, her connection to Randy, and whatever sinister secret she is hiding beneath her designer clothes. But with the poison already doing severe damage to his nervous system, the biggest question remains: will Bill uncover the deadly truth before the serum takes his life completely? Across town, the emotional devastation is just as intense, though far less sinister. Inside the grand, opulent walls of the Dupree mansion, a heartbreaking scene is unfolding. Andre Richardson walks into the living room only to find the love of his life, Danny Dupree, completely lost in a sea of old family photographs. Tears are streaming down her face as she stares at images of her past life with Bill. The memories are hitting her like a tidal wave, pulling her back into the painful years of her stormy marriage. She weeps as she remembers the crushing loneliness, the agonizing feeling of being constantly abandoned and pushed aside while Bill obsessively prioritized his high-stakes law career over their family. Andre, ever the devoted and loving partner, rushes to her side, gently wrapping his arms around her to provide comfort. But beneath his supportive exterior, Andre's heart is breaking, and a suffocating wave of terror washes over him. Andre is a man who knows the devastating pain of loss all too well, having lost both of his parents in a horrific plane crash years ago. Now, he is facing a terrifying two-front war for the woman he loves. On one hand, he is paralyzed by the fear of losing Danny to the deadly BRCA gene she recently tested positive for. On the other hand, he is terrified of losing her to the very man who broke her heart, Bill Hamilton. As Danny leans into his embrace, she makes a crushing confession. She tearfully admits that the bitter, salty memories of her past are acting like an anchor, completely preventing her from fully investing her heart and soul into her present life with Andre. It is a devastating blow. A silent, painful rift begins to crack open between them right there in the living room. Andre is forced to confront a brutal, agonizing reality. No matter how hard he tries, no matter how much love, support, and patience he pours into this relationship, the towering ghost of Bill Hamilton is still firmly planted in Danny's heart. How long can a man fight a ghost before he completely loses his own mind? The generational trauma inflicted by the Hamilton and Dupree patriarchs doesn't just stop with the adults. It is deeply infecting the next generation. At the cozy, dimly lit Brownstone Cafe, Chelsea Hamilton and Naomi Hawthorne are sharing a rare, profoundly emotional moment of sisterly bonding. The two young women sit across from each other, their coffees growing cold as they meticulously dissect the stormy, toxic marriages that their parents have dragged them through. The psychological scars left by their family's legacy are on full display. Naomi, her voice trembling with genuine fear, makes a heartbreaking admission. She confesses that she is absolutely terrified that she is actively repeating her mother's tragic mistakes. She is hopelessly in love with Jacob Hawthorne, but she is watching helplessly as the man she loves slowly loses his humanity. Jacob is drowning in severe PTSD and survivor's guilt over Derek's death, completely consumed by a dark, dangerous obsession with tracking down the elusive impaler and destroying the plasma ring. Naomi fears she is becoming just like Danny, losing herself to a man who is married to his dangerous ambitions rather than to her. Chelsea completely understands Naomi's pain, as she is fighting her own desperate battle against history. Chelsea expresses her deep, agonizing worry about her partner, Dr. Madison Montgomery. Madison recently made the massive decision to turn down a highly prestigious research project in Copenhagen just to stay in Fairmont Crest and protect their relationship. While it seems romantic on the surface, Chelsea is terrified. She sees the exact same pattern of sacrifice that destroyed her parents' marriage. Danny sacrificed her own happiness and identity for Bill's career, only to end up bitter and broken. Chelsea is petrified that Madison is sacrificing her brilliant medical career for love, and that one day, Madison will look at Chelsea with the exact same resentment that Danny holds for Bill. As the two sisters sit together in the quiet cafe, a profound, chilling realization settles over them. They finally understand that the true lasting legacy of the Hamilton and Dupree families isn't their massive bank accounts, their sprawling estates, or their country club memberships. The real legacy is deep, unshakable psychological trauma. It is a cycle of broken hearts, toxic ambition, and devastating sacrifices. Looking into each other's eyes, Chelsea and Naomi make a powerful, solemn vow. They swear to each other that they will break the cycle. They vow that they will never allow themselves to become the helpless victims of ambitious, driven men, and that they will fight to protect their own identities. It is a beautiful, empowering moment between sisters. But as the darkness gathers over Fairmont Crest, and with Jacob diving deeper into the criminal underworld while Madison's resentment potentially simmers, we have to ask the ultimate question. Will their desperate vow be enough to protect them, or are the daughters of Fairmont Crest doomed to repeat the tragic history of their mothers? The storm is coming, and no one is safe.